Imagine being married to a man whose voice would one day echo across the entire world. A man whose music was not just something people listened to, but something people felt. A man whose words carried fire and healing, whose presence brought both comfort and rebellion, and whose art became a spiritual language of its own. Now imagine losing that man forever. Losing your partner, losing your confidant, losing the father of your children, losing the person whose energy filled every room he walked into. And then, in the middle of your grief, realizing that the world is now watching you, waiting to see what you will do, waiting to see whether you can protect the legacy of a legend. That was the moment Rita Marley stepped into on the day Bob Marley died. She was not just a widow. She was suddenly the guardian of a global movement. Millions of fans who felt Bob Marley belonged to them now turned their eyes toward Rita, hoping she could preserve what he left behind. But the truth is that his legacy was not preserved automatically. In fact, the Marley Empire came shockingly close to falling apart. What Rita Marley did next is nothing short of extraordinary. She did not allow grief to swallow her. She did not allow confusion to weaken her. She stepped forward with courage, with clarity, and with a strength that few people ever display in their lives. And through her resilience, she transformed Bob Marley's life's work into a global empire worth hundreds of millions, with long-term estimates that easily cross into the billion range. Before we dive even deeper into this remarkable journey, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. This story is about business, legacy, culture, family, and the unstoppable determination of a woman who refused to let a legend fade into silence. Let us begin. Rita Marley's early life shaped her into the woman who would later guide one of the most culturally important legacies of the 20th century. Born in Cuba and raised in Kingston, when she met Bob Marley, both were young musicians struggling to rise above their circumstances. Bob admired Rita for her voice, her discipline, her faith, and her unshakable spirit. She admired him for his vision, his passion, and his ability to see possibility where others only saw limits. Their connection grew not only through love, but through purpose. They shared a belief that music could change lives, ignite revolutions, and awaken people. As Bob Marley rose to worldwide fame, Rita's presence was steady. She supported him through challenges, through illness, through the political violence that threatened his family, and through the demands of fame. She traveled with him. She sang beside him. She helped raise his children. She kept the home front stable while his life became increasingly chaotic. Hers was a life of dedication and sacrifice. Then came 1981. Bob Marley passed away at 36 after a long battle with cancer. His death shook the world. Concerts stopped. Radio stations mourned. Fans cried in the streets. Jamaica stood still. And behind the global grief stood Rita, holding together a family, a legacy, and a future that felt impossible to navigate. The first major challenge Rita faced was legal. Bob Marley left no formal will. That meant his estate, valued at millions even back then, became legally frozen. Every piece of property, every royalty, every asset was locked in a complicated legal system fueled by Jamaican inheritance law. With 11 acknowledged children, multiple interested parties, and widespread international rights, the situation was incredibly fragile. Some outside individuals attempted to influence financial decisions. Some sought control. Others pushed to divide the estate. Rita Marley found herself at the center of this storm. She did not have the luxury of stepping back. She needed to fight. And fight she did. Rita began working closely with lawyers, financial advisors, musicians, government officials, and trust. But Rita's brilliance did not stop with preservation. She knew that simply protecting Bob's music was not enough. His message was too powerful. His influence was too global. His story deserved to expand, not shrink. So Rita began turning the Marley legacy into something bigger, something lasting, something global. She helped oversee the remastering and release of Bob's music, ensuring that new generations would fall in love with his songs. She supported the development of Marley-branded merchandise that reflected authenticity, not cheap commercialization. She approved licensing agreements that honored Bob's values. Soon, the Marley brand began appearing around the world in clothing, posters, films, documentaries, audio equipment, and lifestyle products. Years later, family-led companies such as the House of Marley combined sustainable materials with music-inspired design. Another expansion was Marley Natural, a cannabis brand that aligned with Bob's spiritual philosophy. There were festivals, tribute concerts, museum expansions, partnerships with global brands, and continued remixes and compilations that kept Bob's message alive in modern culture. The Marley family home at 56 Hope Road in Kingston became a sacred landmark. Rita could have turned it into private property, but instead she transformed it into the Bob Marley Museum. A place where fans from around the world could learn, reflect, celebrate, and feel close to the man who changed music history. The museum became both a cultural treasure and a financial foundation. Rita's most powerful work was holding the family together. Without unity, the Marley Empire might have fractured, and she refused to let that happen. She raised the children with discipline and love, instilling values of community, culture, and purpose. She encouraged them to develop their own musical careers. Ziggy, Stephen, Damien, Sadella, Sharon, and others grew into icons themselves. Their success reinforced and expanded the Marley. Beyond business, Rita invested deeply into humanitarian work. Through the Rita Marley Foundation, she supported educational programs, youth empowerment, women's initiatives, and development projects across Ghana and Jamaica. She became known as Mother Rita among communities that saw her as more than a celebrity widow. She became a symbol of compassion and leadership. Through all of this, one truth becomes clear. Bob Marley lit the fire, but Rita Marley kept it burning. She preserved his vision. She grew his empire, and she ensured that his music would remain a guiding force long after both of them were gone. Today, Bob Marley is consistently one of the top-earning celebrity estates in the world. His songs dominate streaming platforms. His image appears on global merchandise. His message remains inspirational. And the Marley Empire stands strong, respected, and profitable. All of this was made possible because Rita Marley refused to let the world forget him. So let me ask you this. If you were handed a legacy as powerful as Bob Marley's, full of possibility and pressure, would you have the strength to protect it the way Rita Marley did? Or would the weight of the world be too heavy to carry? Tell me in the comments.